All right. So, without further ado, we're aiming for about 45 minutes. We'll see how it goes. It's a small group, so do feel free to pitch in. See if you can learn something, see if I can learn something. I like it if you share as well. Like Xavier pointed out, we're always looking for new speakers. It's not easy to find new speakers if you're not so sure about yourself and how you might look and sound on stage. We've all done it before. I'm still not sure about that. So do reach out to us if you want some mentorship on that as well. Always happy to help. Right. PowerShell needs no introduction for you, I'm sure. If it does, however, if you feel like, hey, I don't know too much about PowerShell, I'm still learning, that's cool. You have to start somewhere. Personally, I started back in, I looked it up. I started when, just when PowerShell version 3 came out. That was in 2012. So it's coming 13 years now. And I still saw a lot of PowerShell version 2 around as well. I actually was happy to include that in my job. So that was cool. And I had to learn, to just jump in the deep end and learn. How do you go about that? How do you learn a scripting language or a programming language? Well, by doing, maybe by reading, and YouTube is a big part for me on learning things. There's so much content out there. Going to BPUC and other community events and learn a little bit about that is, of course, a great source of information, interactive as well. For me, in my case, I learned a lot from this book, Learn Windows PowerShell in a Month of Lunches, by Don Jones and Jeffrey Hicks, two of the godfathers of PowerShell. Not the only ones, but they wrote this book. It's a series of books. I'm not here to promote anything that you need to pay for, but I do highly suggest that if you're looking for a good source and you like to read a book to have with you and try out some code, I recommend this series. The idea is to spend an hour a day over lunch or otherwise and learn a little bit every day and apply that to your job because it's full of practical information. That's how I learned at the time. And then by doing, by reiterating, and by making other people see or start to believe in the use of PowerShell, and that was actually a technology that we should invest in, I was able to pick up a few projects at customers as well as a consultant, which is great. You now get paid to do what you love. And, you stumble and fall and you pick yourself up and you learn. Projects have sometimes been more than I could take on, and you have to look for some help online and with people around you who know PowerShell. PowerShell is an object-oriented scripting language. It uses .NET, and I am not a programmer. I did see some .NET and other languages at school, but that's even longer ago. So I'm not a master at that, and I had to learn a lot. And I had a thought because I'm really keen on everything that's generative AI, and maybe you're as well, or maybe you're very skeptical about it. That's fine. But I have found that it is a great assistant, not just in productivity, but in learning as well, whether you want to learn PowerShell or anything else. And of course, the chatbot that everyone knows is ChatGPT, but you could just as well find something on other places as well. And I just before I came on stage, I had a thought and I looked this up. If you go into the GPTs of ChatGPT, you can go here and explore GPTs. I just looked up PowerShell tutor, as in maybe someone's already done this, and I haven't clicked any of them, but there's a couple of them here, and you can go in there, and then there'll be a little guidance on that and what it can actually do, and you can start a chat with that. So I'm not going to do that right now, but I just had that thought, as in you could write your own system prompt and ask ChatGPT or whatever bot you like to use to help you, to assist you in learning something about PowerShell, or you can use something that someone else has already done for us in the community, because this is free. I'll come back to that, and have a go with that. It can be free. You can use ChatGPT just with an account without having to pay for it. There will be limits to that, but I'm sure it's a great start. And then if you're like me, you like to invest a little coin in AI and other tools and books as well to, to advance my own skills. So if you want to, I think this one is still 20 euros or $20, depends on where you are. For a ChatGPT Plus. Again, not promoting anything. It's just something that I like among other bots. And you can do quite a bit with that. It also includes things like, let me create a new chat. You can use something that's called Canvas, which is great to help you assist. I'll ask it right now, assist me in creating a PowerShell script. What should we do today that will create a secret Santa script? If you're not familiar with what a secret Santa thing is, it's where you have to draw each other's names, like a colleague or your family, and the one the name you draw, you have to give a present for, or you have to buy a present for. And I've done this in the past without the help of AI. And I always came up with a few difficulties, and you see it going along here on the screen. And I always had some difficulties, especially when there's an odd number of participants, as in this case, it just happens to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, 5. I ran into a loop and I couldn't figure it out. Fast forward about a half a year or a year. It would have been a year because ChatGPT is coming up to be 2 years old now. I then tried it again with ChatGPT and I made it work eventually. So here you go. Here's an example. And I'm using the Canvas module here, the Canvas function. If you wouldn't, this is just your regular script and you can use that, of course. But what's great about this is you can actually add it in here, and it's got the color coding, the IntelliSense, if you will, for, no, I shouldn't call it IntelliSense, but there's a color coding for PowerShell or whatever language you want to use here. Just going through here, what is it doing? Shuffle an array, that's fine. I've got 5 names here, some error handling. All right, I think I'm happy to give this a go, actually. Let's copy this into, I'll bring it up on screen now. No, I have to, sorry, I'll just have to reshare the screen to make sure I have everything. Okay. Yes, and we now have PowerShell. This is PowerShell version 7. If you don't believe me, here you go. And what about, now I recommend you don't just do this like I'm doing. And yep, that's a function. I'm in luck. It's actually, okay, let's see what this does. Just once. That's opening on my other. Yeah, there you go. So I decided to paste that into a text file. Is that coming up on screen? Yes. And there you go. Now, this example worked right off the bat, which is cool. I mean, there's nothing here to change, but I could have asked it to maybe not save it in a text file, but instead just output to the console, please. And it will now do this live. If you've not seen this before, I think this is really cool. I can watch this all day. And if you're my age, this reminds me, this takes me back to watching the process of defragmenting my hard drive back in whatever, Windows 95 or something. It was just a very long and tedious process, and I just loved watching it. Call me old or call me geek, because that's what I am. But there you go. It's just made a little change, and of course it's all about this one, right host, and it should now put that on the screen. I'm happy to give that another run to be done with this example, and there you go. We now have it here on screen. Cool. So that was a really simple example, right? But if you want to learn me something, I could say, what are some things I could improve? That's a simple example on how you can improve your skills, right? And it's in the context of this. Again, this is a canvas thing, so it's going to give you some suggestions, and I believe you can click on that. And once it's done generating, I will be able to click apply. There you go. So I could do this, and then you get the gist. This is how you can edit your code, but this one requires ChatGPT. What if you don't want to pay for this, or what if you don't like OpenAI, or you can't use it because your employer says no? Then you have options, right? Now, whatever IDE, what's IDE again? Is it inline? Oh, I'm blacking out. What does IDE stand for again? And without the context, see, yeah, integrated development environment. I couldn't have thought of that in the next hour probably. And it gives the example that's probably the most popular one today. It's Code. It's Visual Studio Code, which is open source, and pretty much any other IDE that I'm using personally is based on Code. Some people would use PyCharm, for instance, as well. Whatever floats your boat. There's a number of AI extensions available for these IDEs, especially with Code, because it relies on Code. The open source version of Code. I've forgotten its name. Is that Codium? I'm not sure. And you can install extensions on that. What's the open source version that VS Code is based upon? It's just code, open source. Okay, there you go. I just wanted to get that right. I don't actually have VS Code installed on my system anymore. I like to go with another version that's called Cursor. It's this one. Again, you can start using this for free, and then what they do is they charge you to use their version of a model. Let me close this up and make a new chat. Let's see. This is what I needed, and do a new one. And what they do is they apply some of the popular and better models for coding, including the GPT-4o model that also powers ChatGPT, also Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is debatably the best coding model around today. There's a lot of them. If you're familiar with them, we can have a conversation, a very lengthy conversation on which one is the best, and depending on how you look at that. But what the team of Cursor have done is they've applied some of their wisdom and some of their tips and tricks to make it even better in the context of this IDE. So you will recognize that this is in fact Visual Studio Code in the backend, but they've just applied their magic on the LLM. So what you can do here, I have a brand new file here, and I can just start by writing a comment. This is a secret Santa script, and it's doing some IntelliSense. I don't want to accept that. And it's just suggesting a few things. That's all right. I just wanted to start creating this. What I can do then is, you already saw that probably. Let's try and get that again. I can ask for chat to write the code that I need. And you can do this in your ChatGPT bot or whatever bot, but this is nice and integrated. So it's just done this. Now, this is not PowerShell. This is Python, and I never asked it to do PowerShell. So let's say forgot to mention I like PowerShell. Okay, There you go. No problem, it says. And again, very easy code, although I think this is a little faster, and it, by default, it will explain fairly well what exactly it's doing. Now, what you can do from here is, I believe you can run it. However, not so with PowerShell, I found. I can do that with Python, for instance, but not with PowerShell. I'm not sure why. But I can copy paste this, and I think, let's see. So this one doesn't, oh, so all of these models, GPT as well, they use some of the same names. So this one's with 4. I'm happy to just save this. You see, I already had one before. I'm going to just replace this, and now I should be able to run this. And there you go. Okay, that seems to be all right. I have no issue with that. So easy peasy, same example. Now, if I were happy with this, what is this missing? Well, I would like to include some comment-based help. Please always be nice to your AI. There you go. That's something we're familiar with. And I'm happy with this. I can say, okay, let's copy that and just do that. And then this will just add that. And you can go about this another way as well. There's a composer version, which now has an agent, which is pretty cool. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's implement a change like, let's add an ASCII animation, again, old reference, of a rolling dice. I didn't even give it more context. There you go, to make it more visually engaging. Yep, that's what I meant, of course. There you go. This looks pretty cool, and it's already applying that, if you can tell that. Show dice animation as a function's added. Okay. 1, 2, 3. I see what it's doing. That's cool, right? I'm happy with that. And I can then choose. Let's go into this. This is basically your diff, right? Your Git diff. That's the difference between your previous version of the file and what you're currently editing. You can call me out if I'm using terms you're not familiar with. Don't be ashamed to ask. And I say, okay, let's do that. And let's try and run it again. Oh, wow, cool. Okay, not sure how much functionality that added, but hey, it's a nice little twist, isn't it? Just to give you an idea. Now, the other thing we can do with a thing like this is, I've got some really simple examples of what we can do with PowerShell. Like, for instance, we can do this. I'm going to hit F8 and it will run that. So this is the information on my motherboard, on my computer. I can also get some details on my OS, which is Windows 11 Pro for Workstation. There you go. I've got some versioning. These are some typical things, right? Now, if I open any of my old scripts that I have produced, either for fun or at work or for community, I have very often used WMI in Windows, because for my daily job, I'm a workplace admin. I work with the Microsoft suite of Intune, and used to work a lot with SCCM as well, not so much anymore these days. And SCCM is all about WMI objects, and whatever I automated, that includes like Windows update, scripting, and whatever, I would always go to WMI. If you don't know, since we've moved along from Windows PowerShell, which is PowerShell V5, 5.1, right? And we still have that in Windows today. It's still around. It just nags you to install the latest PowerShell, which is PowerShell 7 point something, 7.4, I think. So Windows PowerShell, by its title alone, is completely based on Windows and of course .NET, whereas PowerShell is now cross-platform, meaning you can run it on Linux-based systems, Unix-based systems as well, and it runs on .NET's core, right? And there's been a couple of changes. One of them can make my scripts completely unusable because all commandlets related to get WMI object and invoke WMI method have been deprecated. I find that they still work, as was the case here, as was proven. I'm still on PowerShell. Oh, no. I'm actually on, there you go. I'm actually on V5. So if I now copy this and make sure I run this in V7, it should still work. It does still work. Even though it's been deprecated for a long time, get WMI still works. But what if we want to future-proof our scripts? Or if you find a script on GitHub or somewhere and you say, hey, I still want to use this, but I need this to be up to date, then you can easily, and I'm sure most of you might find this yourselves, because it's in the documentation, it's been well documented. You want to change this to get sim instance. Everything else will be pretty much the same name, even if we didn't have class name with the class, which is just short for class name. There would not be a dubious name for the parameter. So that should still work. I'm going to run that just like this. You see, this works. You just need to replace. So if you would open Notepad and just to control H to find and replace, and you paste in get WMI object and replace it by get sim instance. Cool, Bob's your uncle, as they say in English, and that should work. The tricky bit comes with an invoke method. If you have something like we have here, invoke WMI method, this one wants to open Notepad. I've had these AI generated, and I've just now noticed that this one actually isn't used. I'll run it regardless. Maybe I'm missing something, but there you go. And that's just opened up on my second screen. So that works. It uses WMI to invoke a new process, which is notepad.exe. Even though that still works with invoke WMI method, if I want to change that to the newer method, which is invoke sim method, I cannot expect this to work the same. Now, it might. I haven't tried this before our session, and there you go. It doesn't like the argument list parameter. I can try and figure this out. I just tapped Control Space to find what other arguments there are. And there's arguments, so I'm sure that should work. Let's try. Actually, I'm not sure. And that still didn't work. So right there, it's telling me I've entered a string. Yes, I have. It needs a dictionary. Cool. I know what a dictionary is, but I'm not sure. Was that the one with the regular braces or the curly braces? Or let's use AI. Okay. And what we can do then is say, hey, make this PS7 compatible. And I found that you can actually be quite cryptic. As long as it has context, it's going to figure out that I don't mean something like PlayStation 7. Without context, it might very well say, huh? What do you mean? In this case, it knows exactly what we're after. And so it's come up with this get sim instance first to get a process class, and then invoke sim method, and then okay, and then we use the class that we need. So this is a little tricky, isn't it? And that's what I've experienced, especially with SCCM, which uses invoke WMI method all the time. I've had a lot of difficulties with something that's called lazy properties. That's something you want to look up. We can have a separate session about the pain of using lazy properties and the fun with it. But this is a great help to get around that. Now I'm gonna try that once more from the terminal. Yes, I'm sure I want to do that. There you go. And I've got this cannot convert. You know what? I'm in a bit of a pickle now because can I call? Yep. Okay. I'm in a bit of a pickle. I didn't actually have PowerShell 7 in cursor here. So here's another thought. I know of another tool that we can use. We've had him on BPUG before. I'm still sharing the entire screen. That's good. I'm referring to Doug Fink. I think he's demoed an earlier version of this little bit. Let me have a sip of water. And it's been rebranded, if you will. The repo is now called PShell AI, PowerShell AI. And you can see it on the demo here. I've actually got this installed on my in my PowerShell profile as well, because it's so simple. You just type Q for question and then go with whatever. Doug's decided to use the OpenAI as OpenAI is a provider as well with the GPT models, but he also supports Azure OpenAI. So if, like me, you have access through your work, through your employer, to an Azure subscription, you can use some billing there, and you're using, well, basically OpenAI's models or any other ones through some Azure billing and Azure subscription that your boss is paying for, then you might as well use that, right, if you get some credits there. So just know that Doug has supported that scenario as well. The way you can get this, you want to go to dfink on GitHub, Doug Fink. I'm happy to share those links afterwards. And install module PShell AI is what you want to do. You need to be an administrator to do that. And you also need an OpenAI API key. This means you will need a payment method on the OpenAI platform, or you want to set it up with Azure OpenAI. You need to read some of the documentation. It involves a few more steps, but you'll get there, I'm sure. So you want to create an environment variable with your OpenAI key. I always recommend to create a new one, as did I for today's demo, and then I just throw that away in case I accidentally share it on the screen and you decide to abuse that. I can kill it right away. By the way, there's ways to set quota, to set limits on your spending. If you're terrified of what it might cost you, it won't be much, but things can happen. Like, set €5 to it, and you'll be sure not to exceed that. You can do that per key, by the way, no, per project. A key is part of a project. All right, and this is something it will look like. So having said that, I've done all that. Oh, actually, I was a bit quick on doing that, so let's paste that last bit again, and it will give me that error, as you can tell. And what if I say, hey, I'll copy this error. How do I fix this, colon, and then paste? Boom. And then there's a nice little output, but I'm remaining in the terminal, and it says, oh, apparently you need an array of sim instance class. So you can fix that by making this an array and then getting the first index of that array. Okay, maybe that works. And the way you handle the output of this is you can enter a follow-up question if you're still not sure about this, or if maybe this is not what you were after. You can just expand on your question, or he makes it easy to just use enter, and it's now copied to the clipboard. Let's do Control V. You need to ensure like this. All right, I think it sort of it made a little whoopsie. I'm sure the instructions are to only copy the actual code to the clipboard. In this case, as you can tell, this was the response. It should have not done that, but hey, let's live wild and let's just paste that. Of course, that didn't work, but it's just that was not my best example. Let's do another one. Let's stick with what we know. Create a secret. I've done this before, as you can tell, and I hit enter too soon. There you go. It's just another way of doing this. See, I made a typo. If you've played with AI before, it doesn't care much about typos. It usually gets the idea. Same names in GPT again. All right. New item. It's going to actually create the PowerShell file. I like that. Add the names, then do a for loop with 5 names. Let's see. Don't create a script, if I can remember how to type, file. Just create a function. Okay. Yeah, I like this better. I'm happy to try this out. Let's just say that maybe you want to try these things in an isolated environment. You can use Windows Sandbox on your Windows machine, or a VM if you like. In this case, we're working with PowerShell, so we probably want to work with Windows. I'd go with Windows Sandbox. If you're going to use other codes such as Python, there are numerous ways to do that, including ChatGPT's own or the IDEs. They can actually run that in a container just to have it isolated from your operating environment. Let's see, Sacred Santa. Oh, and there's an error here. Participants count. Get random. Right. That's because I didn't actually include a list. So let's do Merlijn. Let's do Xavier. I saw Dieter here as well. You get the gist. I'm just adding a few names. Let's do 3. Okay, and there's an error in here because we all get, maybe it's not an error. Maybe we want to buy ourselves gifts because then we get the cool stuff, right? You see, you can improve on this. You get the gist. This is one of the tools that you can use. Looking at time, let's speed things up a little bit. There's a couple more examples, and I want to point to someone who's very active on YouTube as well in a very funny way. If you want to get a refreshing way on how to work with AI, check out Jay Gravel. He's a US-based consultant. He works with COBOL and stuff like that. But he's actually playing around with Windows and AI and Python, and he creates a dialogue with himself as a voiceover, but also with a generated voice. And it's really funny the way he does it. He actually creates his own intros as well. You don't have audio right now. You might pick it up on microphone. He just has a lot of fun, and I like the things he's doing. I'll share the link again. And this is another one that you can use. It involves a little Python script, but then you can use a trick of what was I going to say? Just add this to your path environment variable, and what you can then do is just from any terminal, including just a command prompt, you can address Grok. Grok AI is another provider of LLMs, and you can actually use that for free. And it's one of the fastest LLM providers today because they build something which is called an NPU, neural processing unit. We can't buy that as private persons. It costs $20,000 for that hardware, but it's really freaking fast. And you can use it for free. Just sign up for an account, grab an API key, paste that in your environment variables, and then you can just address Grok, and you can see that in the YouTube video that I want to share with you, and just ask it anything. So you can ask that. You can ask about PowerShell as well. Another one that I just noticed yesterday is one from Microsoft themselves. The public preview of AI Shell. People don't seem to be very inventive or inspired to come up with names, but that's all right. I'll forgive them. And I quite like this. I haven't installed it on my system yet, but once you've installed the module for it, you can do a thing like this. So this runs in your Windows terminal, actually opens up a side pane and helps you through here. Again, works with OpenAI and Azure OpenAI because Microsoft. And you get the gist. It's doing the same sort of thing, but I really like this implementation. This is the pro stuff. Have a play with this as well. Of course, aimed completely at use in the terminal, and the terminal is all about PowerShell. So this is the latest kid on the block, the newest kid on the block. I just noticed it also runs, because PowerShell 7 is cross-platform compatible. It should also run on Mac OS and Linux, I believe, as well. I did spot Linux before. I'm a Linux user. Oh, yep, right here. It was highlighted so I wouldn't miss it, and I did. You need to follow manual installation instructions. That's what I do every day, all day. That's fine. So there you go. That's another really cool one to use from the terminal. One final demo I wanted to show you, and it's a bit out there. It's cool, but it's very new. It came out last Friday, I think, so it's barely 4 days old, and I've had to play with it for numerous things, for productivity and learning. But why not use it for PowerShell? So what we just had right here, why not do that? And I think I'm going to need audio, so let me reshare once more and make sure I have, yeah, that's fine. Let's do to share audio. No, I knew, yeah. Bear with me while I struggle to do this. I want to make sure that I have the system audio, still sharing the same screen. Google is doing great things with AI. They've lagged behind a bit if you follow that race with chatbots. Had a bit of a flaky start last year, but they're catching up, especially with video as well. If you're into that, check it out. And this one, Gemini 2.0, is very new. It's called Flash Experimental. That's the model's name. And you can access this for free. If you have a Google account, just use it for free. I think you get like 1 million tokens to try it out. And this is completely multimodal. That means on your phone as well. You want to check out their blogs about their vlogs about it. You can use. It's not out yet, I believe, at least not for me. You'll be able to use your camera and your voice as you would with ChatGPT as well. But it's actually alive, and they've caught OpenAI a bit in speed, I believe. It really knows how to look at everything in real time, and it's getting so good. I love this. Let's go. Yep, let's go with this. And I want to turn on this in the tools so it does a web search and actually looks some stuff up, because I had a funny thing before. And I won't go into this too much. Actually, yep, we'll use some code execution, which will run some code in a container, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be able to do PowerShell. And what we want to do then is we want to share our screen, much as I would. I hope this doesn't break the stream together. If it does, I'll be right back, and this demo is going to break. Let's see what this does. I'm going to limit it to the terminal. Let's hope this.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm talking to Google. Hi, Google. How are you?
Hello there. How can I help you?
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. Tell me what's on screen right now.
Currently, the screen displays a Windows PowerShell window. It contains a script titled Secret Santa, and below that script there is an error message relating to the getRandom command. Finally, there are the results of a call of this Secret Santa function, which lists the participants and their gift recipients.
Okay, so as you can see, I've got an error. How can we fix it?
Based on the error message, it seems like the issue is with the --getRandom command. The error says, cannot validate argument on parameter count. The 0 argument is less than the minimum allowed range of 1. This means you are trying to get a random list of participants without having any participants. Or possibly you are using 0 as the argument for the count.
So I'll just interrupt you. Sorry, that's rude, I know. but just give me the code, the fix, please.
Okay, the error message indicates that the count parameter of the get random command cannot be 0. It needs to be at least 1. Looking at the line of code with the error, the count argument is set to $participants, count,
Okay,
When
I
no
appreciate your feedback. Just give me code only, no comments, please.
Okay, I've provided the corrected code for the get random command.
Cool. And then you can actually transcribe that. I believe it's still very early days, but you can see how this would work. It will not interact with your screen, right? There are some other tools that I've contributed to as well, but that deserves a whole different topic. It's not strictly PowerShell related either, but you can reach out if you're interested in that. But that's coming. This stuff is really coming. Maybe it's scary. I love it personally. You know, you can use this as a tutor as well. Hey, Google, who are the godfathers of PowerShell?
Okay, based on my research, Jeffrey Snover is widely considered
godfather of PowerShell. Jeffrey Snover is widely recognized as its creator.
My phone picked that up as well.
Okay.
So it did say, I'm gonna stop right here. It did say Jeffrey Snover, and that's accurate. Now, before I asked it a similar question, and I've got a screenshot of it because there's no chat history here, unfortunately. I'm just gonna see if I can bring this up. Bear with me. Right, come on. Open a default app. That's what I wanted. Let me bring that on screen. And when I asked it first, it said the primary designer of PowerShell, and it said this in its voice before I could read it. It said it was Jeffrey Sloanover. I'm like, what? What did you say? I asked it again, and it sort of corrected itself, but it was probably even worse. It was Jeffrey Scornover, not Sloan. So I then realized that I did not turn on the grounding, which is the web search. Although also I'm not sure how it came up with that name, but it gives you some funny results as well. That's just a little fun fact for you there.